Yes, so we are going to begin with the entry of Mr. Hardcastle. Act 2, line number 154. Uh, Enter Hardcastle. Gentlemen, once more you are heartily welcome. Which is Mr. Marlowe? Sir, you are heartily welcome. It is not my way, you see, to receive my friends with my back to the fire. I like to give them a hearty reception in the old style at my gate. I like to see their horses and trunks taken care of. So Mr. Hardcastle enters the stage and heartily welcomes Marlowe and Hastings, and he says that you people are heartily welcome to my house. It is not my way, so it is not my way, or it is not my habit, you see, to receive my friends with my back to the fire. So I do not receive my guests sitting comfortably in my drawing room by the fireside. Okay, so many people they have the tendency, or they have the habit to receive their guests with the help of their servants. Okay, but Mr. Hardcastle says that he follows the old style of going himself to the gate and receiving the guests warmly. So it is not my way, you see, to receive my friends with my back to the fire. I like to give them a hearty reception in the old style at my gate. Okay, I like to see their horses and their trunks taken care of. So I am very meticulous in actually taking care of their horses, their carriages, and also their trunks. That means their luggage. Okay. Marlowe, in an aside, says he has got our names from the servants already. So, Marlowe is of the impression that he is actually the owner of the inn. Marlowe has already mistaken Mr. Hardcastle's mansion to be the inn. So he has got our names from the servants already. So he is somewhat doubtful as to how Mr. Hardcastle has already come to know their names. So, but he expresses this doubt in a manner of assurance to Hastings, saying that he has got our names from the servants already. We approve your caution. Now to him, that means to Mr. Hardcastle, we approve your caution and hospitality. So we approve of your care and your hospitality. Now to Hastings, I have been thinking, George, of changing our traveling dresses in the morning. So Marlowe is very careful about his first impression. Okay, so he is saying that I hope of changing my traveling dresses that we have worn from the morning. They are already fatigued, they are already exhausted, so they need to change their dresses. I am grown confoundedly ashamed of mine. So the way I am looking, the attire I am in, that has made me extremely ashamed. Okay, so the outfit or the dress has become very shabby, very unkempt, so they need to change that immediately. Hardcastle says, I beg Mr. Marlowe, you will use no ceremony in this house. So Hardcastle, on hearing this, says that Mr. Marlowe, you please feel at home over here. You please make yourself comfortable, and there is no need to observe any kind of ceremony or any kind of formality here. Okay. Now Hastings says, I fancy, Charles, you are right. So I fancy means I think, Charles, you are right. The first blow is half the battle. So the first impression wins half the battle. Hastings is of the opinion that the very first impression often becomes the lasting impression. Okay, for us. So, and it is very appropriate regarding meeting of ladies. Okay, it is very appropriate in winning the hearts of the ladies. So you are right, the first blow is half the battle. So if you are actually giving a sixer at the first strike, okay, that actually makes your battle actually makes you more confident to win the battle. I intend opening the campaign with white and gold. So I actually intend, or I actually wish, opening the campaign here, actually the battle of the sexes is referred to here. Okay, campaign with the white and gold, so with a white dress and with golden embroidery. Hardcastle says, Mr. Marlowe, Mr. Hastings, gentlemen, pray be under no restraint. So please don't be under any kind of constraint or any kind of formality over here. This is Liberty Hall, gentlemen. You may do just as you please here. So this is actually Liberty Hall, and going by the name, you have the freedom or the liberty to do anything that you wish or that you desire over here. Marlowe says, yet, George, if we open the campaign too fiercely at first, we may want ammunition before it is over. I think to reserve the embroidery to secure a retreat. Now, Marlowe is of the opinion that yes, we should begin the campaign in a very decent manner, that is very expected, but still if we actually be overindulgent at the very beginning, that may actually spoil the whole broth. Yet, George, if we open the campaign too fiercely, that means if we actually dress too gaudily, okay, too fiercely actually means wildly or gaudily. Okay, so if we open the campaign too fiercely or gaudily, making our dresses more gaudy at first, we may want ammunition before it is over. So we may lack ammunition, we may want ammunition means we may lack ammunition before it is over. So here actually we are given a peek into a military metaphor over here. Okay, just as in a battle all the ammunition is not used at the very first attack or at the very first instance. Okay, the military, they actually keep some of their ammunition, or rather most of their ammunition, to be used later, so that they do not exhaust all their weapons or all their ammunitions too soon. So just like that, Marlowe also thinks that if we actually become overindulgent in our attires or in our dresses, that actually may mar the whole thing. Okay, so I think to reserve the embroidery to secure a retreat, that means he is of the opinion that he should reserve it, he should keep it for later use. Okay, reserve it to secure a retreat, okay, for the time of leave taking. So when they will be going away from there, so they will be wearing that dress, that white and gold embroidered dress. Okay, so Marlowe is of the opinion to keep the dress, to keep the rich dress, the fine dress, for later use. Okay, Hardcastle, you're talking of a retreat, Mr. Marlowe, puts me in mind of the Duke of Marlborough. When he went to besiege Dineen, he first summoned the garrison. Now, Mr. Hardcastle launches into his old tale, okay, about the Duke of Marlborough. Okay, so whenever he actually picks up the word retreat, retreat actually means withdrawal. Okay, retreat actually means when you are actually taking the leave or going back. So whenever Hardcastle actually hears the word retreat, he picks it up and connects it with his old tale of the Duke of Marlborough. You're talking of a retreat, Mr. Marlowe, puts me in mind of the Duke of Marlborough when he went to besiege Dineen. Okay, Dineen is actually a city in France. Okay, the French actually defeated the Allies' power under Prince Eugene in Dineen in 1712. Okay, so Dineen actually was a city in France, and the Duke of Marlborough went there when he went to besiege, he went to attack Dineen. He first summoned the garrison. He called upon the besieged army of the enemy first to surrender. Okay, the garrison. Marlowe says, don't you think the Ventador waistcoat will do with the plain brown? Now, they actually pay no heed or pay no attention to Mr. Hardcastle's tale. Okay, and Marlowe asks Hastings of his opinion regarding the Vente d'Or, or the pale looking gold embroidered waistcoat. Okay, so Marlowe says that will this waistcoat, the pale looking waistcoat, which is of French origin, okay, will do with the plain brown, will go actually with the plain brown. Okay, Hardcastle continues with his story. He first summoned the garrison. Okay, this is the Duke of Marlborough first summoned the besieged garrison, which might consist of about 5,000 men. Okay, the besieged garrison consisted of 5,000 men. Hastings says, I think not. Now, Hastings answers Marlowe's question. I think not. Brown and yellow mix, but very poorly. Okay, so it would be a poor combination according to Hastings. Hardcastle goes on with his story. I say, gentlemen, as I was telling you, so he is frantically trying to draw their attention and they are not paying any heed. Okay, this is actually creating a hilarious situation when this old Mr. Hardcastle is trying to draw the attention of the two young minds who are only preoccupied with their dress or their attire. Okay, I say, gentlemen, as I was telling you, he summoned the garrison, he called the garrison, which might consist of about 5,000 men. So he repeats the same thing. Okay. Now Marlowe says the girls like finery. Okay, so the Mr. Hardcastle actually speaks of gallantry in the battlefield, and these two young men, they are only actually concerned about the battle of the sexes. Okay, the girls like finery, so the girls like exquisite things, brilliant things, fine dresses, sophistication, aristocracy. Okay, Hardcastle continues again, which might consist of about 5,000 men. So for the third time he says 5,000 men, well appointed with stores, ammunition, and other implements of war. Now, says the Duke of Marlborough to George Brooks. Now he actually presents a very animated picture of the battlefield. Okay, now he says, now, says the Duke of Marlborough to George Brooks. So George Brooks is actually the name of a military officer who was accompanying the Duke of Marlborough, or who was standing by the Duke of Marlborough in the story of Mr. Hardcastle. Okay, that stood next to him. You must have heard of George Brooks. Now he thinks that Marlowe and Hastings, they are well familiar with these tales. Okay, and he says that you must have heard of George Brooks. I'll pawn my dukedom. Now the Duke of Marlborough says to George Brooks that he will pawn his dukedom, but I take the garrison without spilling a drop of blood. Okay, so the Duke of Marlborough says that I am going to stake my whole kingdom, whole estate, and I am going to take the garrison, I am going to capture the garrison without actually killing anyone, without actually spilling a drop of blood. Marlowe says, what, my good friend, if you have a glass of punch in the meantime. Now Marlowe cut short this story of the Duke of Marlborough. Okay, he cuts short, he curtails the story of the Duke of Marlborough. He is very irritated with the old man. Okay, and he cut short the story of Duke of Marlborough, ordering him to bring a glass of punch. Okay, punch is actually a kind of a wine. Okay, so now a wine preparation, a glass of punch in the meantime. So in the meantime you bring us a glass of punch. It would help us to carry on the siege with vigor. So they are, Mr. Hardcastle is speaking of the siege or the besiege of the army by the Duke of Marlborough, and they are actually referring to the battle of the sexes, which they will be carrying on with great vigor or enthusiasm. So they are very much enthusiastic, and so they need to actually what may I say, enkindle their spirits, okay, with a punch of with a glass of punch. Now Hardcastle is stupefied. Okay, Hardcastle is surprised or shocked beyond measure, and Hardcastle says, punch, sir? You need a glass of punch. Okay, now punch actually was not at all considered to be a hallmark of sophistication and finery and aristocracy. Okay, so punch was used by the low base degrading laborer class of England. Okay, they actually preferred this kind of wine. So Hardcastle is shocked beyond measure, saying that punch, punch, sir. And in an aside, he says, this is the most unaccountable kind of modesty I ever met with. So, this is the most unaccountable kind of modesty. What kind of modesty is Marlowe up to? This is not at all modesty. This is sheer immodesty. This is so very strange. Marlowe is actually ordering his father's friend to get him a glass of punch. Okay. Marlowe thinks Mr. Hardcastle to be the innkeeper and just actually with a sway of his hand says that bring me a glass of punch, and Mr. Hardcastle is shocked. Okay, I ever met with. So punch was not actually considered to be a proper drink for a decent man. Marlowe says, yes sir, punch. A glass of warm punch after our journey will be comfortable. So if you just hand us over a glass of warm punch after our journey, that will be comfortable for us. This is Liberty Hall, you know. So you only said that this is Liberty Hall, so we have the right to do anything that we desire. So why not bring me a glass of punch? Hardcastle says, here is a cup, sir. Okay, so here is a cup, sir. It doesn't give the punch. Okay, so here is a cup, sir. That is actually a flavored wine. Okay, a cocktail kind of a thing. So you have it instead of punch. So you just take it instead of punch. That is not actually said here, but that is actually what Hardcastle intends. Now Marlowe in an aside says, so this fellow in his Liberty Hall will only let us have just what he pleases. So I have ordered for punch and he has not got that, and he is giving me a cup, he is giving me a grail of a wine. Okay, so this fellow in his Liberty Hall, he is calling this his Liberty Hall, but he is only letting us do what he pleases, what he desires, and not what we desire. Hardcastle says, taking the cup again, I hope you will find it to your mind. That means I hope you will like it. You will like this wine as well. I have prepared it with my own hands. I have prepared it with my own hands, and I believe you will own the ingredients are tolerable. So you will own means you will admit that the ingredients which I have put into making the wine, into making the cocktail, they are actually tolerable. Will you be so good as to pledge me, sir? So will you be good enough to pledge your love for me and drink to my health, raise a toast for me? Okay, here Mr. Marlowe says, here Mr. Marlowe, here is to our better acquaintance. So we raise the toast, we raise the drink to the health of Mr. Hardcastle and also to their better acquaintance, to their better familiarity. Okay, now Marlowe in an aside says, a very impudent fellow this is such an insolent man. Okay, this is such an insolent man. I have asked for punch and he is handing me over a glass of a flavored wine or a cocktail which I haven't asked for, and he is actually saying that he has made it with his own hands, and he is thinking that we will be giving him praises and appreciation for that, and he is also ordering us to pledge for him, okay, to pledge for him, to raise a toast for him, and to raise for their better familiarity. Now this is very unnatural for an innkeeper. An innkeeper ought to be more ceremonious and more formal in his attitude. But Mr. Hardcastle already knows that they are Marlowe and Hastings, and they are actually thinking him to be the innkeeper. Okay, so this is the mistake which is going on. This is the error of recognition which is going on, the error of identity which is going on. So, a very impudent fellow, but he is a character. So he is such an odd man. He is such an odd man. He is such a whimsical man. And I will humor him a little. Now, Marlowe is thinking that let me humor him a little. That means let me gratify his whims for a little. Okay. So, sir, my service to you. Hastings says in an aside, I see this fellow wants to give us his company. This fellow is always sticking to us. This fellow is all trying to give us his company and forgets that he is an innkeeper. So he forgets completely that he is an innkeeper. So he should not actually intervene over here. He should not actually interrupt in the middle of their conversation like Mr. Hardcastle had been doing so far. Okay. Before he has learned to be a gentleman, so he needs to be gentle in his attitude. As an innkeeper, he needs to be very gentle, okay, in his attitude, which he is not at all. Okay, he's very insolent, he's very impudent, and they are very offended by this. Okay, Marlowe says, from the excellence of your cup, my old friend, I suppose you have a good deal of business in this part of the country. So this cup is excellent. The quality of the wine that you have given to us is excellent, and from this I suppose that you are doing an excellent business over here in the countryside. In this part of the country, that means in this countryside. Warm work now and then at elections, I suppose. So you must be doing some warm work. Warm work means a work in which you gain a lot of profit. Okay, so profitable work now and then at elections, I suppose. So especially during the time of the elections. Hardcastle says, no, sir, I have long given that work over. Okay, so I have actually given up that kind of work during the time of the elections. Since our betters have hit upon the expedient of electing each other, there's no business for us that sale ale. Okay, ale is wine. Okay, so what he says actually by this line, since our betters, okay, since our betters means that the bigger landowners have hit upon the expedient, okay, of electing each other. So Hardcastles actually exposes a bitter truth about the elections over here. So it is always the big landowners, the big profit makers, the industrialists who are taking the upper hand. Okay, and person or commoners like Mr. Hardcastle, they do not have any say in the election. So the rich people, they are electing each other, they are patting each other's back, and there is no business for us that sell ale. So we had the common people. We the common people, he is actually referring to the whole mass of common people by the expression of the people who sell ale. Okay, so ale means wine. So we the common people, we do not have anything to say over here. We don't have a say over here. Hastings says, so then you have no turn for politics. So you don't have any interest, any kind of interest in politics, I find. Hardcastle says, not in the least. No, I don't have a least interest. I don't have any interest in politics. Okay. There was a time indeed I fretted myself about the mistakes of the government. So there was a time when I was actually very bothered. I actually was very worried and I actually fretted, complained a lot about the mistakes of the government like other people. So what we do also now today. Okay. So this is such ironical over here. I fretted myself about the mistakes of the government like other people, but finding myself every day grow more angry and the government growing no better. So this was actually the story when Oliver Goldsmith was writing. This is the story which is actually happening now. We actually get more angry and more angry day by day, and the government actually turns a deaf ear to all our complaints. Okay, the government is going on in its full sway and the government is going on in its own way. Okay, and the government hardly bothers for us. We actually are very much bothered about or worried, or we are very anxious about the policies that the government are making, the mistakes that they are committing. We are critically analyzing them. We are actually talking about the policies of the government, the mistakes of the government at every now and then with each and every people we meet. But that actually has not a single bearing, not an iota of bearing on the government. The government actually is completely indifferent. So that was the case when Goldsmith was writing this play as well. But finding myself every day grow more angry. Okay, so I grow more angry and the government actually grows no better. So this is completely inversely proportional. Okay, the more the anger of the people, the more the indifference of the government. Okay, so this actually went on. I left it to mend it itself. So I actually left it for good. So you actually rectify yourself or mend it yourself. So I am not involved in it. Since that I no more trouble my head. So I don't trouble my head about. Now here we have three important names. Okay, here we have three important names, and this was the time of the heyday of colonization. So they are actually bothered about the policies of England, making colonies around the world, in different parts of the world. Okay, since that I no more trouble my head, so I actually do not bother my head about Hyder Ali. Okay, Hyder Ali, this is a reference to Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan of India. Okay, so Hyder Ali, Ali Khan. Okay, Ali Khan as is actually Ali Khan. Okay, Khawn, that is Khan. Okay, Ali Khan. This is actually an overt reference to Mir Zafar, okay, the Nawab of Bengal after Sirajud-Dowlah, after Sirajud-Dowlah's defeat in the Battle of Plassey in 1757. Okay, Robert Clive actually made Mir Zafar the puppet king, okay, of Bengal, or the puppet Nawab of Bengal. Okay, so this is actually a reference to Mir Zafar. And then about Ali Croker. Now he just shifts from India, from Hyder Ali, Tipu Sultan, Mir Zafar and Sirajud-Dowlah to actually Ali Croker. Ali Croker. Ali Croker is actually an imaginary character from a popular Irish ballad, okay, an Irish song. So I am not at all bothered. To me, Hyder Ali, Ali Khan and Ali Croker, they are all the same. Okay. Sir, my service to you. I am always at service, at your service. Now Hastings says, so that with eating above stairs and drinking below, with receiving your friends within and amusing them without, you lead a good, pleasant, bustling life of it. So you are so very happy, you are so very delighted that you lead a bustling life. Okay, so you are so very you lead a life full of mirth, full of enjoyment and full of merrymaking. So with eating above stairs means with you eat with your family upstairs. Okay, we eat with your family upstairs. And drinking below, and you drink with the guests of the inn below. Okay, and receiving your friends within, so you receive your friends within and amusing them without. Without means outside. Okay, you amuse them outside. You lead a good and pleasant life. So more or less with all your family and your guests and visitors to your inn, okay, you lead a very good and pleasant life. And it's actually bustling. Bustling means full of activity. Okay, bustling life of it. So very enthusiastic, very active life. Okay, Hardcastle says, I do not stir about a great deal. So I actually keep myself here. I do not stir about a great deal. I do not move about a great deal. That's certain. That's very true. Half the differences of the parish are adjusted in this very parlour. Okay, so half the differences, half of the quarrels, half of the conflicts that arise in the parish, they are actually negotiated or adjusted in this very parlour, in this very inn, okay, or in this very parlour. They actually think of the inn. Okay, Marlowe and Hastings. Marlowe says after drinking, and you have an argument in your cup, old gentleman, better than in Westminster Hall. So, having an argument with a cup of wine in your hand is much better than actually having the argument at the Westminster Hall. That means the law courts. Okay, the law courts are referred to. So here actually you can bring forth a better argument or you can actually negotiate an argument in a better manner, okay, taking your cup of wine in your hand than the advocates or the lawyers they do in the Westminster Hall courts. Okay. Hardcastle says, "Ah, young gentleman, and that, and a little philosophy." Yes, I do that, and I actually indulge myself in a little philosophizing. Okay, so aided by my ideals and wisdom, helped by my ideals and wisdom, and my philosophy, so I actually try to resolve the conflicts. Okay, Marlowe says in an aside again, "Well, this is for the first time I have ever heard of an innkeeper's philosophy." So this is the first time I am hearing of an innkeeper's philosophy. A person who is an innkeeper, he is actually speaking of his own ideals and philosophy. This is so very surprising. This is so very astonishing. Okay. Hastings says, "So then, like an experienced general, you attack them on every quarter." Okay, so with your philosophy, you attack everyone from every quarter. If you find their reason manageable, you attack it with your philosophy. If you find they have no reason, okay, you attack them with this. That means with this means this cup of wine. Okay, here's to your health. So yes, we raise a toast to your health, my philosopher. Okay, my philosopher, we actually raise a toast to your health. Hardcastle says, "Good, very good, thank you. Haha, your generalship puts me in mind of Prince Eugene." Now again he actually remembers his old tale, which actually dropped off in the middle with their intervention. The intervention of Marlowe and Hastings. Okay, so he says, "Your generalship puts me in mind of Prince Eugene." Okay, so and when he fought the Turks at the Battle of Belgrade. Belgrade actually was the capital of Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia as a country is no more existing today. Okay, so because that has actually been transformed into Slovenia, and Yugoslavia actually, the capital of Yugoslavia was Belgrade. Okay, so instead of when he fought the Turks at the Battle of Belgrade, so Prince Eugene actually defeated the Turks in the Battle of Belgrade in the year 1717. Okay, this conflict is being referred to here when he fought the Turks at the Battle of Belgrade. You shall hear. Marlowe says, "Instead of the Battle of Belgrade, I believe it's almost time to talk about the supper." So I'm not at all interested in hearing anything about the Battle of Belgrade. So I am only here to now talk about the supper. I believe it's almost time to talk about the supper. It's almost time that we should begin talking about our supper. Okay, what we are going to eat now. What has your philosophy got in the house for supper? So what have you got today for us? Okay, with your philosophy for the supper. Now Hardcastle says, "For supper, sir," now in an aside says, "was ever such a request to a man in his own house?" So was ever such a request, such an uncouth, unmannerly request made to the owner of a house? Marlowe says, "Yes, sir. Supper, sir. I begin to feel an appetite. So I'm hungry now. I begin to feel an appetite. I shall make devilish work tonight in the larder." Okay, I promise you, I shall make devilish work tonight in the larder. So, if I am late in eating, if you do not give me supper, I am going to do the work of a devil. Okay, I am going to do the work of a devil means I am actually going to make a devilish work. Okay, what is this devilish work referred to? The devilish work is actually eating voraciously tonight in the larder. In the larder means in the storeroom, which is used for keeping food. I promise you. So I promise to make myself, okay, eat voraciously. Okay, and that will be the devilish work. Hardcastle in an aside says, "Such a brazen dog, sure never my eyes beheld." So I have never beheld, I have never come across such a man in my life, such a brazen dog, such a shameless dog he is. Now to him he says, why really, sir? As for supper, I can't well tell. So I cannot tell what is there for you for supper. My Dorothy, that means Mrs. Hardcastle, and the cookmaid settle these things between them. So they actually think or they actually decide what is going to be cooked in the household. Okay, so I don't have anything in that. My Dorothy and the cookmaid settle these things between them. I leave these kind of things entirely to them. So I do not interfere. I leave the whole thing entirely to them. Marlowe, you do you? So you do you? You really do so? Now Hardcastle says, entirely I do that. By the by, I believe they are in actual consultation upon what's for supper. So I believe now they are consulting what is there for supper this moment in the kitchen. Marlowe, then I beg they will admit me as one of their privy council. So I think if I go to the kitchen, they are going to give me permission to enter the kitchen, or they are going to allow me or admit me to enter the kitchen as one of their privy council. That means as one of their private or secret consultant. Okay. It is a way I have got. So this is my way. I should go there. When I travel, I always choose to regulate my own supper. So when I actually travel, I always choose to regulate, to control my own supper myself. Let the cook be called. Look, let the cook be called. No offense, I hope, sir. So I hope you will not be taking any offense for this. Hardcastle says, oh no, sir, none in the least. So none in the least. I don't know how our Bridget, the cookmaid, is not very communicative upon these occasions. So please remember the name of the cookmaid, that is Bridget. Okay, is not very communicative upon these occasions. Should we send for her? Should we actually call her? She might scold all of us all out of the house. So that is also a possibility. She might actually scold us, and she might actually throw us out of the house. Hastings, let's see your list of the larder. Okay, please give me a list of the things that you have kept in the larder. Then I ask it as a favor. Then I will ask a favor of you. I always match my appetite to my bill of fare. So I always match my appetite. That means adjust my hunger to the menu of the dishes available. That is actually the bill of fare. Okay, Marlowe says to Hardcastle, who looks at them with surprise, sir, he is very bright, and it's my way too. So he is very bright. So he is very right. Sorry, he is very right. And this is my way too. This is also my way. Okay. What is the way referred to here? You better be acquainted with these lines, because these are very important from the exam point of view. I ask it as a favor. I always match my appetite to my bill of fare. Okay, that is actually hinted to here. Sir, he is very right, and it is my way too. Hardcastle says, sir, you have a right to command here. So you have a right to have your way here by your command. Here, Roger, bring us the bill of fare for tonight's supper. So bring us the bill of fare. That means what we have prepared for tonight's supper. I believe it is drawn out. I believe it is drawn out means I believe it is completed or prepared. Your manner, Mr. Hastings, puts me in mind of my uncle. Okay. Colonel Wallop, it was a saying of his that no man was sure of his supper till he had eaten. Okay, I stop here for 3-4 minutes. আমি পুরোটা কনস্ট্যান্ট কন্টিনিউ করছি বলে একটু গলাটার অসুবিধা হচ্ছে, তো আমি একটু থামছি এখানে 2-3 মিনিটস বা 5 মিনিটস ধরো। তোমরা যতটা পড়ালাম একবার পড়ে নাও, তারপরে আমি বাকিটা এবার আবার এগোবো। Yes, I stopped here. Here, Roger, bring us the bill of fare for tonight's supper. So he summons Roger to bring them the list of dishes that has been prepared for supper that night. I believe it is drawn out. I believe it is drawn out means I believe the list is prepared. Your manner, Mr. Hastings, puts me in mind of my uncle, Colonel Wallop. It was a saying of his that no man was sure of his supper till he had eaten it. So he is actually reminded of his uncle, Colonel Wallop, who actually had the habit of saying that no man was sure of his supper till he had eaten it. So a man cannot be sure about the quality of the dishes that are served to him unless he had tasted them. That is actually the meaning of the line. Enter Roger with a bill of fare. Okay. Hastings in an aside said, all upon the high ropes. His uncle a colonel. Okay, so all upon the high ropes means he is always indulging in. Okay. Acha, am I not audible to you?
না শোনা যাচ্ছে
Okay. আচ্ছা, someone is facing a problem. আমার মনে হচ্ছে যে কথাটা বললে তার তোমারই প্রবলেম হচ্ছে. Okay, I'll continue. So, all upon the high ropes, that means Hastings in an aside says that this man, Mr. Hardcastle, is always engaging in tall talks. Okay, his uncle is a colonel. Now he is taking such an air, okay, of superiority by saying that his uncle was a colonel. We shall soon hear of his mother being a justice of peace. So now he is going to tell that his mother is actually was a justice of peace. But let's hear the bill of fare. Okay, let us now hear about the bill of fare. Now Marlowe, perusing, says reading the bill of fare. What's here? For the first course, for the second course, for the dessert? The devil, sir, do you think we have brought down the whole Joiners Company or the Corporation of Bedford to eat up such a supper? So do you think that we have brought so many people with us that you have prepared so many dishes? Now here Marlowe actually refers to two things. Okay, the Joiners company or the Corporation of Bedford. Okay, so the Joiners Company was actually a company of carpenters. Okay, they were known, they were very well known for their appetite. Okay, they were very sturdy men, you know, carpenters. Okay, so they actually were strong enough and they actually used to eat voraciously. Okay, so they were well known of their appetite. So the whole Joiners Company or the Corporation of Bedford to eat up such a supper. So have we brought so many people with us, so many sturdy men with us, that you are giving us such a huge treat? Two or three little things, clean and comfortable, will do. Okay, so two or three little dishes which are easy, tasty and comfortable, that will be enough for us. No need of such an elaborate fanfare. Okay, so Hastings says, but let's hear it. Okay, so why are you interrupting? Let us hear it. Okay, what is there for the first course, for the main course and for the dessert? Okay, Marlowe says, reading, for the first course at the top, a pig and a prune sauce. Okay, so we have pig in prune sauce. Okay, so prunes, you know, the dried plum. Okay, so that is our sauce is made and the pig is actually cooked in that. A pig and a prune sauce. Hastings says, damn your pig, I say. Marlowe says, and damn your prune sauce, say I. Hardcastle says, and yet, gentlemen, to men that are hungry, pig with prune sauce is very good eating. So Hardcastle says, men who are hungry, for them pig in prune sauce, that is actually very appetizing, that is actually very tempting. Now Marlowe says, at the bottom, a calf's tongue and brains. So at the bottom of the list we have a calf's tongue and brains. Okay, the brains of a calf. Okay, Hastings says, let your brains be knocked out. My good sir, I don't like them. So you actually let your brains be knocked out. Remove these brains of the calf from the list. I don't like it at all. Marlowe says, or you may clap them on a plate by themselves. Okay, or you may just put it in a separate plate. Okay, you may put the tongue and the brain of the calf in a separate plate separately for me, because Marlowe says that he likes them. Okay, on place by themselves. I do means I like them. Hardcastle in an aside says, their impudence confounds me. So their insolence that actually puzzles me, surprises me beyond measure. Now to them, gentlemen, you are my guests. Gentlemen, you are my guests. What alterations you please. So you are free to make any kind of alterations over here. Okay, in the list. Is there anything else you wish to retrench or alter? Okay, so is there anything more that you are going to omit, that you are going to retrench or alter in the list, gentlemen? Marlowe says, item. A pork pie, I want a pork pie, a boiled rabbit and sausages. Okay, so I want a pork pie and a boiled rabbit and sausages. A Florentine. A Florentine is also actually a pie like a thing. Okay, that is actually made of minced meat and eggs and slices of bacon. Okay, so Florentine. A shaking pudding. A shaking pudding, a pudding which is very soft, which is very gooey. Okay, and which is very fluid like. Okay, shaking pudding, semi-fluid pudding. And a dish of Tiff Taff Taffety cream. Okay, Tiff Taff Taffety cream. This is actually not not the name of a type of a cream. Okay, the cream is called the taffety cream. Okay, it is very silken, it's very smooth. Okay, the cream. But here Marlowe says Tiff Taff Taffety cream. Perhaps what is written in the list or the bill of fare, that is actually written in an illegible hand. Okay, so the handwriting is not at all legible, so he actually stumbles when he speaks. Tiff Taff Taffety cream. Hastings says, confound your made dishes. Okay, damn your made dishes, curse on the dishes that you make. I shall be as much at a loss in this house as at a green and yellow dinner at the French ambassador's table. So what are you kept? What have you kept for the list? These are all fancy items which we do not want. Okay, so I will be completely at a loss in this house because we have to pay for these items. They are so much. They will be priced exorbitantly. So I shall be as much at a loss in this house as at a green and yellow dinner at the French ambassador's table. See, the cup's tongue, the cup's brain, okay, and the Florentine, these are all French dishes. Okay, so Hastings is a bit annoyed because Hastings says that this is suitable for the dinner at the French ambassador's table. Okay, green and yellow. Why green and yellow dinner? Because green and yellow dinner because French people they are very flamboyant people and they are very colorful in nature. So when they eat, they actually put green plates and pans and yellow dishes on the table. That actually makes their table a riot of colors. Okay, so green and yellow dinner at the French ambassador's table. Moreover, the waiters at a French restaurant, they were also of the habit of putting on colorful dresses. Okay, green and yellow, very bright colors. Okay, so green and yellow dinner at the French ambassador's table. A French style of eating is very fashionable. So this actually is hinted at here. I am for plain eating, so I don't want all these fancy items presented to me in a very fashionable manner. I am for plain eating, so I am here for plain eating. I prefer simple dinner. Okay, Hardcastle says, I'm sorry gentlemen, and that I have nothing you like. So I don't have anything to your likings. But if there be anything, if you have a particular fancy to, so if there is anything for which you have a special liking, and then he is cut short. Marlowe says, why really, sir? Your bill of fare is so exquisite that any one part of it is full as good as the other, as another. Send us what you please. So much for supper, and now to see that our beds are aired and properly taken care of. Okay, now Marlowe says, Sir, your list is so long, it's so exquisite, it's so brilliant, okay, that any one part of it is full as good as another. Okay, so any one part of it is as good as the other. Okay, so all the corners are very good, all the corners of the bill of fare. Send us what you please. So you can send us for supper whatever you like, we need not tell you anything. So much for supper, this is only enough for our supper. And now to see that our beds are aired and properly taken care of. That means now to see means you please attend, you please see that our beds are properly made and everything is properly taken care of. Now Hardcastle says, I entreat you will leave all that to me. So I request you, you leave all the matter to me. You shall not stir a step. You need not walk a step. You need not move a step. Okay, I will do everything for you. Marlowe says, leave that to you. Leave that in your care. I protest, sir. You must excuse me. I always look to these things myself. Okay, that is not possible. So we are actually not leaving anything to you. Okay, you will excuse me. But I always personally try to look after things myself. So I don't want your help. Hardcastle says, I must insist, sir, you will make yourself easy on the head. I insist, sir, that you don't bother yourself, you don't take things on your head. Do not bother about it. Marlowe says, you see, I am resolved on it. I am determined. Now, in an aside, he says, a very troublesome fellow this is. This is a very troublesome fellow, as ever I met with. Hardcastle says, well, sir, I am resolved least to attend you. So I am determined at least to attend you. Okay, in an aside, says, this may be modern modesty. This may what be modern modesty. But I never saw anything look so like old-fashioned impudence. Okay, so I have never come across anything so impertinent. Okay, according to the old standards of conduct. Okay, old-fashioned impudence. Now, exeunt Marlowe and Hardcastle. So Marlowe and Hardcastle goes out. Now Hastings stands alone on stage. Hastings. So I find this fellow's civilities begin to grow troublesome. Okay. So this fellow means Mr. Hardcastle. Mr. Hardcastle's civilities, Mr. Hardcastle's courtesies, they are now growing troublesome. But who can be angry at those acidities which are meant to please him? Miss Neville by all that's happy. So now he says, as Hastings says, that Mr. Hardcastle has been very assiduous, very painstaking, but who can be angry at those assiduities which are meant to please him? The efforts, the painstaking efforts that Mr. Hardcastle has taken to please Marlowe. Please him means Marlowe. Miss Neville by all that's happy. So by all means, so by God, good luck. Okay, Miss Neville over here. Enter Miss Neville. Miss Neville says, my dear Hastings, to what unexpected good fortune. So I am unexpectedly lucky today. So this is my unexpected good fortune. To what accident am I to ascribe? So to what accident am to attribute this? Accident here means chance. Okay, chance or coincidence. Happy meeting. Now Hastings says, rather let me ask the same question. I also want to ask you the same question, as I could never have hoped to meet my dearest Constance at an inn. So I have never thought of meeting my dearest love interest Constance at an inn at this hour of night. Miss Neville says, an inn? Sure you mistake. You are calling this an inn. You are surely mistaken. Sure you mistake. My aunt, my guardian lives here. My aunt lives here. My aunt, my guardian lives here. What could induce you to think this house an inn? So what has made you think this house to be an inn? Why have you thought this to be an inn? Hastings says, my friend Mr. Marlowe, with whom I came down, with whom I have come here, and I have been sent here as to an inn when we were on our way. So we have been directed here by saying that this is an inn, I assure you. A young fellow whom we accidentally met at a house, okay, whom we by chance met at a house, hard by directed us hither. So he actually directed us hither. Hither means here. Now Miss Neville says, certainly it must be one of my hopeful cousins' tricks. So this he immediately identifies this to be his her cousin's tricks, hopeful cousin's tricks, of whom you have heard me talk so often. So I often talk about him. Ha 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 ha. Hastings says, he whom your aunt intends for you. He who your aunt means Mrs. Hardcastle, intends for you, that means chosen for you for marriage. He of whom I have such just apprehensions. So is he the same fellow for whom I have fear and apprehension? Miss Neville says, you have nothing to fear from him. So you don't be under the false impression you have nothing to fear from him. I assure you, I'm assuring you, I'm giving you a word. You would adore him if you knew how heartily he despises me. So you would have adored him if you had come to know that how heartily he hates me. My aunt knows it too. My aunt is also of the same opinion and has undertaken to court me for him, and now he is actually wooing or courting me for his on his son's behalf, and actually begins to think that she has made a conquest, and he is actually taking an air that she has made a conquest, okay, by doing that. Hastings says, thou dear dissembler, you dear deceiver, dissembler, you must know, my Constance, I have seized this happy opportunity of my friend's visit here to get admittance into the family. So I have just grabbed this happy opportunity of my friend Marlowe. Okay, Marlowe's visit here to get admittance into the family, to enter this family. The horses that carried us down are fatigued with their journey. So the horses are fatigued or exhausted with their journey, but they will soon be refreshed. After they have rest and they have food. And then if my dearest girl will trust in our faithful Hastings, we shall soon be landed in France, where even among the slaves the laws of marriage are respected. So now Hastings here says that if the dearest girl, that means Constance Neville, will trust in her faithful Hastings, will go on trusting her faithful Hastings, we shall soon be landed in France. So we will actually elope, we will actually go away to France, where even among the slaves the laws of marriage are respected. So he speaks that the French people, they are actually happy in maintaining the sanctity of marriage. Okay, so the slaves and the marriage laws over there in France, they have been much easier and more comfortable. So this match actually happens. Hastings, we shall soon be landed in France, even when among the slaves the law of marriage are respected. Now Miss Neville says, I have often told you that though ready to obey you, yet I should leave my little fortune behind with reluctance. So Miss Neville says that I am ready to obey you, I am ready to carry out what you say, but I do not have my mind, or I am very unwilling to leave my little fortune behind. So to leave my little fortune behind with reluctance, with unwillingness. The greatest part of it was left me by my uncle, the India director. Okay, so the greatest part of it, most of the riches that I have to my name, was actually given to me by my uncle, who was a director in the India. Director means a director of the East India Company in India, and chiefly consists in jewels. Okay, so chiefly consists in jewels. I have been for some time persuading my aunt to let me wear them. So I have always tried to convince or coax or cajole my aunt to give me all those jewels to wear them. I fancy I am very near succeeding. Okay, so I imagine that I am actually near succeeding. The instant they are put into my possession, the instant they come to my possession, you shall find me ready to make them and myself yours. So the very next day I will make you myself, and I will uh, make myself to available to you. Okay, you shall find me ready to make them and yourself yours. Hastings says, perish the baubles. Perish the baubles means curse on the jewels. Your person is all I desire. I don't want what you have got uh, from your house. Okay, the jewels. So perish the baubles. Your person is all I desire. I only desire you as a person. I don't want all those things. In the meantime, my friend Marlowe must not let must not be led into his mistake. So in the meantime, let Marlowe be not be dragged into mistake. I know the strange reserve of his temper, so I am very familiar with the strange reserve of his temper, and that if he abruptly informed it, okay, so informed of it, that means if he is abruptly informed of the mistake what he has committed, not this to be the castle of Mr. Hardcastle and not an inn, he would instantly quit the house. He will instantly leave the house before our plan was ripe for execution. We would not have any plan left for execution. Okay. Miss Neville says, but how shall we keep him in the deception? How can we actually maintain this deception, maintain this pretension? Miss Hardcastle is just returned from walking. So Miss Hardcastle has just returned from walking. And what if we still continue to deceive him, and if I still continue deceiving him? This way, okay, they confer, that means they go on discussing and they leave the stage. Enter Marlowe. The assiduities of these good people tease me beyond bearing. Okay, the efforts that they have taken to serve me, the people over here, that is beyond bearing. My host seems to think it ill manners to leave me alone. Okay, so my host thinks that I should not leave my guest alone, and so he claps not only to himself but his old fashioned wife on my back. Okay, so he claps, that means he thrusts not only himself but his old fashioned wife on my back. They talk of coming to sup with us too, and then I suppose we are to run the gauntlet through all the rest of the family. Run the gauntlet means face the ordeal, okay, of meeting the demands of the family. Okay, to run the gauntlet through all the rest of the family. What have we got here? So what have we got here? Hastings says, my dear Charles, let me congratulate you. So my dear Charles, let me congratulate you now. The most fortunate accident. Okay, this is the most fortunate accident. Who do you think is just alighted? Tell someone, that tell me who has just come to make a visit, who has alighted. Alighted, the very verb is used for birds. Okay. Marlowe says, cannot guess. So I cannot guess. Hastings says, our mistress's boy, Miss Hardcastle and Miss Neville, give me leave to introduce Miss Constance Neville to your acquaintance. Now Hastings says, let me introduce Miss Constance Neville to your acquaintance, happening to dine in the neighborhood. So we are actually thinking of going to dine in the neighborhood. They called on their return to take fresh horses here. So Miss Constance Neville and Miss Hardcastle, they actually were returning and happening to dine in the neighborhood. They took their dinner in a neighborhood eating place, and they called on their return to take fresh horses here. So they called on their return to take fresh horses here, and they have stopped by the inn to look for fresh horses for their carriage. Miss Hardcastle has just stepped into the next room. Okay, he goes to the next room and she goes, and will be back at an instant. What, wasn't it lucky? So wasn't it lucky? So the Miss Hardcastle has just gone to the next room and will be back in a moment. Okay. So Marlowe says in an aside, I have just been mortified enough of all the conscience. So I have already been so much annoyed, okay, without any doubt. So truly I have been annoyed. And here comes something to complete my embarrassment. So something has come which will complete my embarrassment. Hastings says, well, but wasn't it the most fortunate thing in the world? So, is it not the most fortunate thing in the world? Marlowe says, oh, yes, very fortunate. A most joyful encounter, so a joyful meeting. But our dresses, George, you know, are in disorder. So, the dresses are in disorder now. What if we should postpone the happiness till tomorrow? So, if we go on postponing it till tomorrow, what is going to happen? Tomorrow at her own house it will be very bit as convenient and rather more respectful. Tomorrow let it be. So he says, but our dresses are very shabby and disordered. Okay, but our dresses, George, you know, are in disorder. So let us postpone the pleasure of the meeting, Miss Hardcastle, till tomorrow. So let me postpone it till tomorrow. I don't want to intend Miss Hardcastle tonight. Tomorrow we can meet at her own house. That is actually here, which is referred to tomorrow at her own house. It will be every bit as convenient. Okay, so it will be every bit as convenient. What is the meaning of this line? And rather more respectful. Tomorrow let it be. So he says that, just a second. Yes. So, but our dresses, George, you know, are in order. What if we should postpone the happiness till tomorrow? If we postpone it till tomorrow, tomorrow at her own house, it will be every bit as convenient. Everything is convenient over there, and rather more respectful tomorrow's it. Let it be. Okay. Miss Neville says, by no means your ceremony will displease her. Your ceremony means your formality will displease her. The disorder of your dress will show the ardor of impatience. So your hair and your dress, they are very disorderly. This is actually a proof of your vigor and enthusiasm and haste. Besides, she knows you are in the house and will permit you to see her. Okay, so I am in the house and will obviously permit you to see her. Marlowe says, oh, the devil, how shall I support it? How shall I support it? Hem, that means ahem, taking the name of God. Hastings, you must not go. Hastings, you shouldn't go. You are to assist me. You should be assisting me here. You know, I shall be confoundedly ridiculous. Confoundedly means thoroughly. I'll be thoroughly ridiculous. You are saying, so I'm being. Yet having it, I'll take courage. I'll take courage. Okay. Hem means again ahem. So I shall take courage and face her. That is actually what is intended over here. Hastings says, man, but it's but the first plunge and all over. So the first plunge is very important. So if you cannot survive in the first plunge, that means they are all over. She is but a woman, you know. She is actually a woman, and of all women, she that I dread most to encounter. So he was that kind of a strict woman. I have never thought of encountering her. Okay, beforehand. Okay, now for a meeting my modest gentleman. So modest gentleman with a demure face. Okay, demure means very reserved and quite in his own manner, and he is doing things in his own way and disconcerted. Okay, so the also disconcerted is a very good activity. and that are so agreeably concluded. Okay, ahem again. Hastings to Sim. You never spoke better in your whole life. So you have never spoken better in your whole life. I am afraid. Uh, or you never spoke better in your whole life. Keep it up and I'll ensure the victory. So you keep it up, you continue doing, and I will bring you victory. Miss Hardcastle says, I am afraid you flatter, sir. You have seen so much of the finest company clan can find little entertainment in a most obscure corner of the country. So he says, I am afraid you flatter, sir. I am afraid you flatter, sir. I am afraid so as to you say so just to flatter me. So what he says in the next, let us see. Sir, you have been so much of the best company can find little entertainment in an obscure corner of the country. So, you have seen such finest company, you have been there with a little excitement, little pleasure, little actually pleasure. From what company you will derive pleasure? From the obscure corner of the country, from this remote corner of the country, from this countryside. Marlowe, gathering courage, says, I have lived indeed in the world, madam. So I have lived in the world, madam, but I have kept very little company. But I do not make friends with everyone. I have a very, very small circle of friends, very little company. I have been an observer in my life. So I have been a very good observer in my life, madam, while others were enjoying it, while others were enjoying them. Miss Neville says, but that I am told is the way to enjoy it the best. So I have been told that this is the best way to enjoy the world. Now Hastings says to him, to means to Marlowe, Cicero never spoke better. That means you are speaking like Cicero, the Roman orator and statesman. Okay, once more, and you are confirmed in assurances forever. So once more, you are confirmed, and then you will be confirmed in assurance forever. Marlowe to him, he says, Ahem, stand by me then stand by me, stand by the side of me. And when I am down, so when my spirits are down, throw in a word or two to set me up again. So throw in a word or two to actually set my life again. Miss Hardcastle says, an observer like you upon life, where I have feared, so I have feared in my work, disturb uh, disturbances, I fear, disagreeably employed. Okay, so these are all the maladies that are affecting the society. Since you must have had much more to censure, that means much more to criticize and to approve. Approve here means like. Okay, approve, liking. Marlowe says, pardon me, madam. Pardon me, madam, I was always willing to be amused. So I was always very much willing to be amused. The folly of most people is rather an object of mirth than uneasiness. So when people commit follies or when people commit mistakes, that actually to me is an object of enjoyment, is an object of entertainment, of mirth, and not uneasiness. I don't feel uncomfortable. Hastings to him he says, Bravo, bravo, never spoke so well in all your whole life. So you never spoke so well in your whole life. This is actually the ultimate which you have declared. Well, Miss Hardcastle, I see that you and Mr. Marlowe are going to be very good company. So you two people can be very good company. I believe our being here will but embarrass the interview. So if I stay, that would actually embarrass the interview. Marlowe says, not in the least, Mr. Hastings. So not in the least, Mr. Hastings. We like your company. We like your company of all things. We have everything. Okay, so bravo never spoke so well in your whole life, Miss Hardcastle. I see that you and Marlowe are going to be very good company, so you can spend time together among yourselves. I believe our being here, if we stay here, Constance and me, that will actually be embarrassing to you. That will actually embarrass the interview. Marlowe says, not in the least. No, nothing, Mr. Hastings. We would like your company of all things. So I actually like your company of all things. Now to him, at least to Hastings, he says, Zounds, that means by God, George, you won't go. Don't go from here. How can you leave us? How can you leave us at this crucial point of time? Hastings says our presence will spoil the conversation. So if I go on actually that will spoil our conversation. So we will retire to the next room. So we will not talk, we will go to the next room to sleep. Now to him, you don't consider man that we are managed the little tete-a-tete of our own. So he actually says that for them, for Hastings and Neville, okay, he has planned or he has managed to make a little a tete-a-tete. Tete-a-tete means face-to-face conversation between two parties, okay, of our own. Now exeunt. Okay, now he leaves the stage. It's already 11:45, so I will stop my class here. আর কালকে আমি আবার একই টাইমে ক্লাস নেব, ঠিক আছে? ঠিক যেহেতু আমার আগের সপ্তাহটাতে অনেকগুলো গ্যাপ পড়েছিল, তো টেকনিক্যাল কিছু প্রবলেমসের জন্যে এবং আরও কিছু প্রবলেমের জন্যে, তো কালকে আমি কিন্তু আবারও ক্লাস নেব এবং শি স্টুপস টু কঙ্কারে কালকে অ্যাক্ট 2টা কমপ্লিট হয়ে যাবে, বেশি আর বাকি নেই, অ্যাক্ট 2টা কমপ্লিট হয়ে যাবে। আর আরেকটা জিনিস যেটা আমি কালকে করব সেটা হচ্ছে আই উইল গিভ ইউ অ্যান ইন্ট্রোডাকশন অ্যাবাউট দ্য ট্র্যাডিশন অফ রাইটিং সনেটস during the Elizabethan period. Okay, the tradition of writing sonnets during the Elizabethan period, because we have 3 sonnets, the sonnet 18 of Shakespeare and Philip Sidney and Edmund Spenser. Okay, so 3 sonnets that will take 1 class and the introduction will take another class. So tomorrow, along with the portion of She Stoops to Conquer Act 2 which are left, we are going to actually along with She Stoops to Conquer, I will also begin with the history of writing sonnets in the Elizabethan period. Okay, so if you have any doubt, then you may ask a question now or you may actually post it to me later, because it's already late at night. So it's better that we retreat, and tomorrow we are meeting at the same time at 10 p.m. Okay, so thank you so much for the patient hearing. Today's class is up to this.